Back once again, and this is for Tyler Barwick, who wanted me to review the first two Stepfather films. So today, talking about and reviewing Stepfather 2, or also known as Stepfather 2, Make Room for Daddy, which came out in 1989. And first thoughts on this film, while not as great as the first movie, but I still felt, Stepfather 2 was a decent, follow-up sequel, to the Stepfather, where, the first film, it's more psychological. With this one, it takes more of the slasher route, and that might, turn off some people, but I didn't mind it. I mean, the story here is you have, Terry O'Quinn's back as his character Jerry Blake. He was able to cheat death from the ending of the first movie, and the film opens up here where his character's in a mental asylum, and long story short, he kills his doctor and a security guard, and he breaks out, and from there he poses as a marriage counselor, and soon enough he meets this woman who is played by Meg Foster. Yeah, Meg Foster with the crazy eyes from Leviathan, and her son is played by Jonathan Brandis. Yeah, from It, and Terry O'Quinn's character is trying to get close to her, and anyone who steps in his way is in danger, and that's pretty much the story here, the plot to the film. And like I said, you know, again, not as great as the first movie, but I still like this movie. I mean, when I look at the cast, Terry O'Quinn, he's great once again as his character Jerry Blake. I mean, in the beginning, you see that he has the scar from the first movie, so, it's not like they disregarded that, but at the same time, they don't really explain how he was able to cheat death. I mean, because at the end of the first movie, he pretty much gets stabbed in the heart with a kitchen knife, falls down the staircase, and that's pretty much it. You assume that he's dead, but, he comes back here for the sequel, and it's like, what is he, Jason? I mean, does he have supernatural powers or, what? But, I know it's a sequel. Sometimes you gotta, turn off your brain a little bit. But, Terry O'Quinn does a great job here once again as this character. And like I said, he escapes the mental asylum and, poses as a, marriage counselor, and Meg Foster's in there, and you also have Caroline Williams as this lady who works for the post office, and she's on to Terry O'Quinn because, she's spying on him and checking his mail, and she tells him that, something's going on, like, I don't believe you, and she's trying to look out for Meg Foster. So you got that going on. And like I said, Terry Quinn's trying to get close to Meg Foster and her son, Jonathan Brandis. But again, Terry Quinn does a great job here. Meg Foster, again, you recognize this actress. She has a striking blue eyes. And it's funny because I read in the trivia for this film that she almost didn't get the part because of her eyes. But she was good here. And Jonathan Brandis, unfortunately he's passed away, but, this is right before he did It. And he was also in, Neverending Story 2 and Sidekicks with Chuck Norris. And sad that, what happened to him, but, he was good here. Caroline Williams. So, with this movie, you have a little bit more to the cast, people that you recognize, where the first movie, it's more of Terry O'Quinn. But here you have, Meg Foster and Jonathan Brandis and Caroline Williams. So, good cast. And directed by Jeff Burr. Now, Jeff Burr, he directed Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Pumpkinhead 2, which I've never seen, Puppet Master 4 and 5. And I thought he did a decent job directing, this movie. I mean, compared to Joseph Rubin, I think I prefer Joseph Rubin a little bit more because, he directed The Good Son and Money Train. But I I don't think Jeff Burr did a bad job here, with direction. I mean, of course, like I said, with this film, it takes more of the, slasher direction. And, people either like that or they don't. And, but I didn't mind it because, I do like, slashers. And, Tara Quinn does a great job here once again. And, I know they did a Stepfather 3, but, they got someone else for that film. But again, I don't think the director did a bad job. Now, as far as like kills and whatnot, I mean, definitely with this one has a little bit more of a body count. I mean, you're not going to get like, Friday the 13th type of body count, but, you get a little bit more, with this film. But, I mean, there's one or two shots where, it's a little bit weird. Like this one guy that he kills when he escapes the mental asylum. This guy has his fingers in the trunk, and Tara Quinn closes or, shuts the trunk on this guy's fingers, and it kind of cuts away. So, you assume that Tara Quinn, kills this guy, but they don't show it. It's kind of a weird scene because his fingers are slammed, while his hands are in the trunk. And again, that was kind of a weird scene, but, like I said in the beginning, he does kill his doctor and security guard, which you wonder where's security at. I mean, it's just one guy looking after Terry O'Quinn. And the doctor there, he's kind of easily duped by, this character. But he escapes. And so, I mean, the story here is, fairly simple. It's more... And that's one thing I know that people complain about the film, that it's too similar to the first movie. But again, I didn't mind that because, again, it had more of a, slasher feel to it. I mean, you have a couple of scenes where, like I said, because Terry O'Quinn becomes this counselor where he's talking to a group of women, but, he's back at it again, where he puts on a front where, he wants that same Leave It to Beaver type of family, but, he's violent still and he's psychotic. And as far as like little things about the film, it says right here that after a test screening of the film, studio executives Harvey and Bob Weinstein complained about the lack of blood and demanded reshoots. The director refused, and director Doug Campbell was hired to do the reshoots. In an interview, Jeff Burr commented that they cut a little bit of the film and they added some really badly done blood effects. Badly done because Terry O'Quinn refused to do it. Really, they were meaningless, so that was irritating. So, yeah, apparently that happened. And, like the first movie, this film is not long at all. I mean, it's like an hour and 25 minutes. So it moves fairly well. And, when you get towards the third act of the film, that's where it kind of leads to this wedding, where Tara Quinn's going to marry Meg Foster. And, before that, Tara Quinn, spoiler alert, kills Caroline Williams. And, that's one thing about these films. It's like, the one character that, you root for, that you're hoping to take down Tara Quinn, they both get killed. I mean, like in the first movie, that detective type of character gets killed. And in this one, Caroline Williams gets strangled. And it's like, man, there's no one to root for to stop, Terry O'Quinn. But like I said, getting towards the end of the film, that's where you had this wedding. And long story short, Meg Foster finds out about Terry O'Quinn. She's onto him, and this is during the wedding. And they get into a fight. Jonathan Brandis jumps in there, and he locks up Jonathan Brandis. And, Terry O'Quinn and Meg Foster, they're fighting, while everybody's waiting in the church for them to, for the wedding. They're fighting in the reception hall and they're throwing each other over tables and such. And Jonathan Brandis is able to get out of the closet, and you have a final confrontation where, at this point, Terry O'Quinn has been stabbed a couple of times with a fork or whatever, and Jonathan Brandis, takes the hammer and he, you know, hammers him right here with the claw. The claw of the hammer, kills Terry O'Quinn with the hammer. And that's kind of the ending of the film. I mean, Terry O'Quinn, dies, and, that's, his comeuppance here. Which, again, doesn't really, that's the one thing that kind of doesn't make sense because, at the end of the first movie, getting stabbed and getting shot, well, he gets shot first and then stabbed with a kitchen knife pretty much right here. And then here it takes, some being stabbed, with the fork or whatever a couple of times. And then finally, a hammer with the claw right here. And like I said, that's the, comeuppance for Terry O'Quinn's character. And, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, again, I know they made a third one, but, Terry O'Quinn did not come back. But, that's pretty much, Stepfather II. And, at the end of the day, again, I thought this was a decent, follow-up to the first movie. I mean, if you were to ask me, yeah, I prefer the first movie more because it's more of that build-up and, Terry O'Quinn, you really, you see in different sides to his character and, freaking out in the basement and great score. And here, it definitely takes a more slasher route and you get a little bit more in terms of body count. I mean, same kind of runtime as the first movie. And I recognize, as far as like people in the cast a little bit more because you have Meg Foster and Jonathan Brandis and, Caroline Williams. But, I thought, again, this is still a decent sequel. And, his comeuppance in the end, I mean, it's okay. I mean, getting it with the claw of the hammer right here. I mean, and that's, that really should have been it. I mean, I haven't seen the third one, but I don't have a lot of interest in watching the third one or the remake. So, maybe there should have been just two of these films. But, yeah, that's my review of Stepfather 2. Again, a decent, follow-up sequel. But thank you once again, and I hope you enjoyed it, Tyler Barwick. But thank you once again, and have a good day.